Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. It's Wednesday, September 30th. I'm Stephanie Haney. I've got your top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thanks for choosing to be here to get filled in on what's impacting you here in Northeast Ohio. And yes, today is Wednesday, September 30th. It is a new day, but what a night last night. A tough loss for the tribe here in Cleveland and that presidential debate. That presidential debate was tough to watch, and it felt a lot like a Twitter feud, to be honest. So it's only fitting that it spilled over onto Twitter today. This morning, President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden trading jabs on Twitter. This morning, the president tweeted, "Nobody wants Sleepy Joe as a leader, including the radical left, which he lost last night. He disrespected Bernie, effectively calling him a loser." That is President Donald Trump's interpretation of Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden's comments in the debate last night. And then Biden this morning tweeted a clip from the debate showing President Donald Trump as a crying baby with a crying emoji. So these are just a couple of the tweets. We have the breakdown of the Twitter exchange on WKYC.com. President Donald Trump did not only have rough words for Joe Biden today, he also had some harsh things to say about Fox News anchor Chris Wallace, who was the moderator of the debate last night. He said that Wallace and Joe Biden teamed up on them. Overall, President Donald Trump said that Biden would be a weak president and that he's not the right choice to lead the country. And Joe Biden said that Trump had his chance to improve the country and he squandered it. It was definitely a rough night for everyone watching the presidential debate yesterday. I, for one, personally, after watching the debate and recapping the moments and doing some fact-checking last night here on a special edition of 3 News Now, I winded down by watching Yellowstone, which is an intense show, but that actually was less intense than watching the presidential debate and watching those two men talk over each other for an hour and a half, which is something a lot of people were saying online, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But probably the biggest moment from the presidential debate last night that many people are talking about today, many people will certainly be talking about over the next coming days, was the moment when President Donald Trump did not condemn white supremacists when he was asked. The moderator, Chris Wallace, directly asked President Donald Trump to condemn white supremacists. In that moment, President Donald Trump said, "I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace. What do you want to call them? Give me a name." That's when former Vice President Joe Biden said, Proud Boys. Proud Boys is a far-right extremist group that has shown up at protests in the Pacific Northwest, out on the West Coast, also was there in Charlottesville, Virginia. It's a male-only group of neo-fascists. They describe themselves as Western chauvinists, and they have been known to incite street violence at demonstrations. So at that point, President Donald Trump then said, "Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left because this is not a right-wing problem." First of all, FBI Director Christopher Wray told a congressional panel just last week that white supremacists and anti-government extremists have been responsible for most of the recent deadly attacks by extremist group within the U.S. Second of all, Antifa is not a known group. It has no leader. It is an idea. This is something that Joe Biden brought up in the debate. That information comes from our federal intelligence agencies. The concept is anti-fascism, and anti-fascism is associated with the opposite of what the Proud Boys group stand for. Well, after that comment, the Proud Boys took it as a rallying cry from the president. Proud Boys organizer Joe Biggs posted that he was indeed standing by and that the president, quote, basically said to go F them up. Of course, he used the expletive there. He said, President Donald Trump told the Proud Boys to stand by because someone needs to deal with Antifa. Well, sir, we're ready. That's from the organizer of the Proud Boys. Other members that associate with Proud Boys pledged allegiance to Trump last night, saying that, yes, they would stand back and stand by. And people identifying with the group on social media picked up on that language very quickly. One social media account associated with the group made Stand Back, Stand By part of its new logo. Anti-Defamation League CEO Jonathan Greenblatt said in a tweet that the president's answer was astonishing. Now, on the global stage, there was also reaction to the presidential debate last night. Our own 3 News' Andrew Horansky was outside of the Cleveland Clinic Main Health campus. He tweeted from outside of the Samson Pavilion, where he was surrounded by reporters from all around the country. Here's some of the reactions from news outlets from around the country. The editor of China's Nationalist Communist Party tabloid Global Times, Hu Xijin, said that during the debate there was chaos, interruptions, personal attacks, and insults on display, and called it a reflection of America's overarching division, anxiety, and the accelerating erosion of the system's original advantages. Jeffrey Halley, who is a senior market analyst at Owanda, which is a foreign exchange company, said the debate itself went as expected, which is not something that you want to hear after the display that we saw last night. Nobody wants to hear that that was what was expected of the first presidential debate here in the 2020 election. Halley went on to say that his initial thoughts are the debate will not move the needle on the Democratic lead in the national polls. There are polls nationally that are showing that Democratic candidate Joe Biden is leading, but do remember that we don't run a national election here in the U.S., so pay close attention when you're looking at those polls, whether it's a national poll or a state poll. What we really run here are dozens of state elections because we use the system that is the Electoral College. So just keep that in mind when people are talking about national polls here for the next almost 5 weeks as we move through towards Election Day. Now, Stephen Innes of Axacorp said that the greater worry is over how tight the race might be and whether a delay in election results might prove disruptive. Innes said that a highly polarized and possibly legally contested U.S. election is just around the corner. That is something that President Donald Trump did make mention of during the debate last night, and that he would be counting on the Supreme Court in order to determine this election, trying to determine which ballots should actually be counted. But one thing is definitely for sure, the world is watching this election closely. Here in Ohio, our governor, Mike DeWine, actually applauded President Donald Trump's performance. He tweeted, "A great job tonight by Donald Trump, and congrats to tonight's sponsors, Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic, on hosting a great debate." Now, that tweet from Governor Mike DeWine got a lot of attention very quickly. A lot of people not agreeing with Governor Mike DeWine's classification of the debate. Some people responding that he must have been joking. Some people saying that he clearly didn't watch the debate. Lots of comments. You can see them all online. We have a collection of them on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Now, yesterday, we did do fact-checking and recapping of big moments after the debate from our Verify team. Here are a few more for you. There was a claim yesterday from Vice President Joe Biden that President Trump's former spokesperson, Kellyanne Conway, said that riots and chaos and violence help his cause for re-election. Well, we need some context around that statement. So Conway, President Trump's former White House counselor, did make a statement referencing a third-party quote that protests were going to help re-elect President Donald Trump. This was during a Fox and Friends interview from August 27th, 2020. So our Verify team found the actual video. We have that embedded in the story on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app. So in that interview, Conway was talking about violence in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And she mentioned a story about a small businesswoman who was getting ready to reopen her business after closing it because of COVID-19, and then she had to do it all over again because her business was allegedly vandalized and looted. Those were Conway's words. Well, Conway talked about a quote from a Wisconsin restaurant owner who allegedly said this: "Are you protesters trying to get Donald Trump reelected?" Then Conway said, he knows, full stop, and I guess Mayor Pete Buttigieg knows, full stop, that the more chaos and anarchy and vandalism and violence reigns, the better it is for the very clear choice on who's best on public safety and law and order. Those were Conway's exact words. Now, during the debate, Conway tweeted denying that she ever said this, but she is on video saying it, and we do have that up on WKYC.com if you would like to see it for yourself. Here's another fact check for you. During the debate, President Donald Trump questioned the integrity of mail-in ballots by saying that some states will let people submit their ballots on November 10th, a week after Election Day. That's true, sort of, but not in the way that it was presented, because you can't submit your ballot a week late. You can't submit your ballot on November 10th. In the states that allow mail-in voting, for ballots to arrive after the election day. They have to be postmarked by either the day before the election or postmarked on the election day. That's the point of submission. But yes, the Postal Service does take time. It's not instant. We're not talking about email here. We're talking about a physical ballot that has to be deposited at the post office and then arrive at your county board elections. Now, here in Ohio, if you are going to vote by mail, you have to postmark your ballot by November 2nd, the day before the election day. So if you want your ballot to be counted, no, you cannot submit your ballot after election day. That is not true in any state. But your ballot might arrive after election day, which is why we've been talking about for quite some time now the fact that the election may not be decided on November 3rd, because up to half of Americans are expected to vote by mail this year because we are in a pandemic. So that's all of the information that needs to be stated about that comment from the president. Here's another fact check for you. President Donald Trump accused former Vice President Joe Biden of referring to African Americans as super predators. This claim is also false. The quote that he's referencing was actually said by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. This came up during the 2016 presidential campaign. Clinton used the term in a speech in 1996 at Keene State College. This was in New Hampshire. This was in support of the 1994 crime bill, which was signed into law by her husband, President Bill Clinton. That speech did come up during the 2016 campaign. President Donald Trump mentioned it in an August tweet that year when he was running for president, and then Hillary Clinton later issued a statement to the Washington Post apologizing for using that term. Now, Biden has been criticized for his role in passing the 1994 crime bill, and he did warn of predators in a floor speech in support of that bill, but he did not ever refer to African Americans as super predators on record, so accuse him of doing so is false. Now, for those of you who are wondering about demonstrations that happened near the debate site in Cleveland, they were mostly peaceful. Cleveland police said that 4 people were arrested during Tuesday's presidential debate demonstrations, and that demonstrations and attendees remain mostly lawful and peaceful. Police say they will have more about arrests today at a news conference at 1 p.m. There were at least 2 demonstrations near the Case Western Reserve University campus on Tuesday evening. We had 3 news cameras at both of those demonstrations with our investigative reporter, Rachel Polanski. There was a demonstration early around 5 o'clock that was at MLK Boulevard in Euclid. There were about a dozen demonstrators with Refuse Fascism. That was the name of that group. There was a confrontation with officers at one point when officers confiscated their signs. It was because of the posts that were on the signs to hold the signs. So then the signs were later returned, but the posts were removed. And then across Wade Lagoon, there were hundreds of demonstrators with Black Lives Matter. They began gathering. They marched into the hours leading up to the debate as well. But again, police said largely peaceful. Only 4 arrests were made, and we'll have more from them at a press conference at 1 p.m. Now today, former Vice President Joe Biden, he's on a train tour of Ohio, and he will be going one-on-one with our very own Russ Mitchell. So that train tour started today at 9:40 this morning in Cleveland. So Joe Biden is, along with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, are planning to travel across eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania. So the goal for them here is to highlight how their campaign, if elected, would build our economy back better for working families and not the super wealthy and corporations. That's a quote from the Biden campaign. So Russ Mitchell is on that train with Joe Biden for a one-on-one interview. You'll be able to catch that today in What's New at 5 o'clock, What Matters Most at 6 p.m., and What's Next at 11 p.m. And Russ has been tweeting out updates, so make sure if you're not following Russ Mitchell on Twitter that you are doing that. His Twitter handle is Russ, WKYC. Again, that is Russ, WKYC. So the first stop on that train tour was in Alliance. That happened just a little bit ago at 11:45 a.m., and they'll be traveling on to Pennsylvania later this afternoon, ending with a drive-in event in Johnston, Pennsylvania this evening. Switching gears here, here's something you need to know if you drive a Ford. Ford is recalling 700,000 vehicles. This is because these vehicles might have a defective backup camera. That is not something that you want to hear if you've been relying on one of those backup cameras, because they really are a game changer. So it's possible that these Ford vehicles can show a distorted image or suddenly go dark. That's not good for anyone. Ford is saying this is possibly because of poor electrical conditions. It hasn't seen or known of any crashes or injuries yet caused by the problem, but they're trying to get ahead of it here. So the recall affects most 2020 versions of Ford's F-Series trucks, Explorers, Mustangs, Transits, Expeditions, Escapes, Rangers, and the Ford Edge, also the Lincoln Nautilus and the Corsair. Dealers will replace the rearview camera for free, no cost to the owners. That recall is expected to start on November 7th. So if you think you might have a vehicle impacted, check the full list on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. All right, one more thing we got to talk about. That Cleveland game versus the New York Yankees last night. Oh, that was not the way we wanted it to go. The Tribe lost last night 12-3. They are at the very beginning of a best-of-3 series, so now they're fighting to keep playoff hopes alive tonight when they take on the Yankees again in the American League Wild Card Series. The next stop for the winner of this series is the American League Division Series. So here's hoping our pitcher tonight, Carlos Carrasco, can pull this out for us. He's pitching against Masahiro Tanaka for the New York Yankees. Here's a little ray of sunshine for you. This is a prediction from our 3 News sports analyst, Ben Axelrod. He says it wouldn't be postseason without a little bit of drama, right? The Yankees' hot streak on offense continues, but Cleveland's offense proves hotter and forces a winner-take-all Game 3 at Progressive Field on Thursday night. I like the sound of that, Ben. So Ben is predicting tonight's final score will be the Tribe 8, Yankees 6. Here's hoping that's what we see tonight at Progressive Field. And let's end this 3 News Now update on a positive note. 2 years ago, Allie Roan, who has a particular tie to Cookie Carrasco, she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma 2 years ago. That's stage 4 cancer at just 20 years old. Well, now she is having a very bright future ahead of her. She is looking to get into the medical field. She's about to start studying for that as well. And 3 News and the Tribe has given back to Allie Roan. Carrasco visited her when she was in the pediatrics unit. This is when she was going through 18 rounds of radiation and 8 rounds of chemo. Of course, Carrasco, this is near and dear to his heart. He had his own battle with leukemia. He was going through that while he was visiting Roan in the hospital, and she's been inspired, and now she wants to work in the medical field herself. She'll be starting nursing school soon at Cleveland State University. That's happening for her in January. So the Tribe gave her some autographed merchandise and tickets to a 2021 game at Progressive Field. High hopes that fans will be allowed in the stands next season. Great ending for a super fan for the Tribe. Here's hoping we have a good display for her tonight when the Tribe takes on the Yankees at 7 p.m. at Progressive Field. That's it for your 3 News Now early update for Wednesday, September 30th. I'll be back here at 3 p.m. as soon as we get the latest numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health on COVID-19, and also more top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. And remember, if you're listening to this, because 3 News Now is a brand new podcast now, which you can find on your favorite podcast platform by searching 3 News Now with Stephanie Haney. 3 News is one word, and it is the number 3. Please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really does help us connect with more people here in Northeast Ohio so that we can communicate all of this great information to as many people as possible. That's it for me. Stay safe, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.